thing, because I was watching it. I was like, damn, this is speaking to me right now. She was just saying your breaking point is your listening point. And I'm not saying I'm at a breaking point, but I am at an uncomfortable point with my best friend. Like the person that I feel is my person, the person that I feel is my life partner, a person that I feel like is going to be in my life until the day I die. I feel like you're either going to bury me or I'm going to bury you. I don't have any plans on ending this relationship, but I feel like I'm at an uncomfortable point that we have to fight through. And she was saying your breaking point is your listening point. And that stuck to me so hard. Like, it's time to listen. If you're going through battles or uncomfortable feelings or confusion, or it's time to listen. This is a
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. We are giving you guys a breakdown. B, Simone, and Megan. You guys loved the first one, so I thought I'd go a little bit more deeper and express how this relationship, this friendship, has broken down. And I believe that this will help a lot of people. And if you pay attention, then your friendship probably will stay intact as well, because let me tell you this now, there's a lot of friendships that are like B, Simone, and Megan's, including my own, and this taught me a lot of things that I need to learn about myself and about my friend as well. Last episode or last video we spoke about in part 1 about various attachment styles. We're going to go deeper into the avoidant attachment, because I feel like this is what's happened with B, Simone, and Megan. We got B, Simone, as an avoidant attachment, and we've got Megan as the anxious attachment. And what's really difficult about this relationship is how people perceive the avoidant person. They believe that by watching the avoidant person and the anxious person, that oftentimes someone like B, Simone, is selfish. She's for herself. She doesn't think about other people. She's, up in the clouds. That she is the villain of the story. I'm here to tell you that neither B, Simone, or Megan are the villain of the story. If anything, both the anxious and the avoidant are both annoying. Right? And I'm an avoidant, so I can tell you this for real, right? The anxious and the avoidant are annoying because they're in this constant dance of trying to escape their trauma, right? The avoidant tries to get away from the constant barrage of emotional circus that goes on. The anxious avoidant wants to be able to, latch on when it feels like the avoidant person is slipping away. And actually, both parties have control issues. Various control issues. The avoidant person tries to maintain emotional distance with the other person, so they remain in their individualism because their identity has been formed by their individuality. And the anxious person gets their identity from being attached to someone and knowing them and just being all about them. And so the anxious person feels like they're losing their identity, and they try to control through, what are you doing? What's next? What are you planning to do? Where are you going? And they ask you a barrage of questions because their anxiety now becomes the very thing that begins to control the other party. So both anxious and both avoidance are hella annoying, right? So we're going to break it all the way down for you guys in the next 25 or so minutes. I don't want it to go any longer than that, because I want to keep it episode by episode to give you guys as much information in a feasible amount of time, right? So if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor. We like to educate and entertain on this channel. Like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, we want you guys also as well. You see this? Your mineral gang, baby. Okay, your mineral gang, and we appreciate you. Okay, all right. Listen, don't forget. We also have our merchandise. Grab your link down below, and you can get your merchandise as well. Be part of the team, and also we also have a membership as well as £1 or $1. Join that as well, and our Patreon will be revised in 2024 because I need to do a lot more work for you guys in the Patreon, and now I've kind of found where I want to go with it. I'm going to give you a whole lot more content in Patreon as well. But let's get into this particular situation with B, Simone, and our good sis Megan, right? I'm going to show you a few clips, but I want to show you this particular clip, okay? This clip here I found by a friend the other day. Shout out to you, Ash. She hit me up with this clip, and I've watched it 5 or 6 times. I watched it 1.75, 1.5, 1.25, and I watched it in normal, because I wanted to soak up the information that was being given. And I love this analysis that she gives, because this very few lines that she gives are quintessential. So listen to this, and this will help us inform about how we're going to interact with B, Simone, and Megan and their situation, as to why their friendship has taken this drastic turn and why your relationship can also suffer. This is going to help you in relationships, romantic, and also your platonic friendships. But listen to this.
Space. So anyway, at its core, the fear of an avoidant is enmeshment. where does it come from? What does enmeshment mean? Is that like the squashing of two entities and the loss of your own identity? So literally the opposite of what an anxious person would fear is that if they are around someone for too long, they would literally disappear into the ether. This often comes from when their parents were focused not on interpersonal connection and love and affection and hearing their needs. That child learned at a certain point that their needs would not be heard and met, but they were provided for probably materially. Sometimes they've got disastrous backgrounds where they had no parents at all and, you know, they just learned to rely on themselves. But usually they just had parents who wanted high achievement and no connection. They received a lack of sensitivity from their caregivers, so that's what they expect from those around. So if you've got an anxious, an avoidant partner, you've got to understand that the reason that they're not open and they're not coming to you, and the reason they act the way they do is not because they are intrinsically awful and non-human and just want to be this solitary rock out in the ocean, but because they learned very long ago that that is not valuable as a human. What we learn is valuable, let's say, as a secure person.
Okay,
is that connection is good.
What she was explaining is one of the greatest fears of anybody who's avoidant. If you're an avoidant, you know this, right? The greatest fear of an avoidant is the fact that someone is trying to break past the barriers of your individualism, and they're trying to enter your space, your arena, your energy. Like they want to take over. Okay. All right. They want to take over. It feels like they want to enter your skin. That's how, honestly, for an avoidant, how it feels like is that you feel like when anybody is too emotional. And when I say too emotional, what it means is when you're in my space and you are trying to be so caring, so loving, and it's consistent, it gets frustrating because what it feels like is like you're trying to enter into my skin. It honestly generally feels like you're trying to get underneath my skin and enter into my veins and enter my bloodstream. And so what happens is the avoidant person wants to mitigate that particular risk, because what you have to understand is our greatest fear is giving up power and saying, do you know what? I'm going to trust you and say, I'm going to put myself in your hands and for you to drop me again. I've already been there, done that. I'm not going to do it again, right? From our childhood, we've learned that putting ourselves in somebody else's hands, they've dropped us and left us be. So emotionally, I'm not going to put myself in that situation where I'm going to look weak, because I've learned how to survive and I've learned how to win and I've learned how to grow and I've learned how to stand strong, and I've done it by myself. I don't need you, and I find it despicable that you need me. And this is one of the wildest things to say, but I'm going to say it because some people don't want to call it out, but I'll call it out for avoidance. We find it despicable that you need me on a realist thing, because we value our individualism so much that if you are a person that is in constant need of somebody, we're asking, why can't you do it yourself? No, we get that you might need some help. We get it that you might need some people to depend on, but you're doing too much right now. You call me, you message me, you text me, you Instagram me, you WhatsApp me, you're on YouTube with me. Give me some room to breathe. That's how it feels like. That's not how it always is, but that's how it feels like. And if you're on the opposite end, it can feel like that the person is basically shutting you out. And in some respects, we are shutting you out. In some respects, we are pushing you away. In some respects, we feel like you're doing too much. And in some respects, I want you gone. You know what I mean? We want you gone. And this is one of the hardest things to accept if you are an anxious person. Now, let's not forget what's happened there. I'm giving background before I go deeper into this video, right? What happened to Megan recently? Well, she went for a divorce. Let's just have a little listen to this. It's nothing too crazy. Just have a little listen.
Each other
for a very long time. It's just legally done now.
It's just legally done. So now
that is a
you know what I mean?
ass point.
But like sometimes it, you know,
it's like when it's legally done, y'all just made the decision yesterday.
Yeah, it's like, do you know how long of a process? First of all, not even just the legal that I could do a whole thing about that. Not even just that.
Mm-hmm.
The mental strength that you have to even come to that decision.
Lord.
Now, we don't need to go too deep in it because it's not that important. What is understanding here is that with B Simone and Megan has just gone through a divorce. And one of the hardest things about going through a divorce is it's emotionally tasking, it's draining, it's painful, and, you know, it's not the nicest thing to go through. But the reality of the situation is yeah, I hear you, but as an avoidant, this is not the time that you're going to come and do a consistent lean on me. No, no, no. One thing about avoidance is, and I can understand where B. Simone is coming from, is you can lean on me. Oh, no, by all means, lean on me, okay, when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. But let's not make this a constant thing. Do you get what I'm saying to you? That's where I can see B. Simone's going to have an issue, and I'm going to start playing some clips, and you'll see. The issue is you are trying to lean on me when you're not strong, right? And I'll be your friend, but you're doing, I'm like, okay, after a while, it gets to a point, I need you to get up and I need you to find your strength. Because as avoidance, we don't find our strength in being a team. We find our strength in individualism. And so we are looking at you and going, okay, I know you've gone through a divorce. I know you've gone through a breakup. I know that you're currently maybe not with your husband right now, but it was really good when you were with your husband because you had someone else you were leaning on. Now your husband's not there. You're trying to lean more on me and I don't like it because you're not giving me chance to be by myself. An avoidant person needs time to breathe. Give me time to breathe. I can't breathe. I'm being suffocated because you're all up in my throat and my chakras. You know what I'm saying? You're all up in my prayers. You know what I mean? You're all in my spiritual realm. You're everywhere. You know, I'm being funny, but you're all in my atmosphere. And what happens is I feel like I'm being choked. And when I feel like I'm being choked, I've got to get out to breathe, right? Because I'm going to pass out if I don't. So when that anxious, and see that, and the anxious person who's in the situation, they clutch on. And they don't realize by them clutching on, you are suffocating me. And I can see that with Megan and I can see that with B. Simone, that would have started happening in their relationship. Now, there's other things as well. Don't get it twisted. Then we're going to do, when we do a part 4, part 3, part 4, whatever, we start talking about, did God break them up or did the devil break them up? Whatever we want to talk about, we will discuss that. But I want to be very honest. The anxious person, okay, who, and with Megan, she might have been okay with parts of the relationship with B. Simone before, right? Megan might have been cool with the relationship before. She might have been like, you know what? I don't like the way B. Simone moves, but I'm cool. The moment she's breaking up with her husband and she's now divorced, her focus is now going to be on that friendship. It wasn't like that before. Her focus would have been on her husband, and then she has a friendship with B. Simone, which comes second. Now she has no husband, and two things happen. Her reliance comes onto me, but me as an individual, I'm looking at going, no. Listen, don't change what you were doing before. We liked where you were at. Don't start you're leaning too much. Hey, you go. And so what happens, two things happens. I become aware that you've lost your support network, and you become aware that now I must take on more of that load. And that's where the trouble starts. Right? The trouble starts there because I'm like, I don't really want more of that leaning. Let's have a look at this clip here, and I'll go ahead and show you this because they were talking about it. They were talking about the taking on the load and the relationship and how that affected them. And I can see, and B. Simone said it herself, she tired, y'all. She tired of carrying that load. It became too much. It became too much. So let's have a look at this. I want to get this clip for you guys as well. Let's get this clip for you guys, and you'll see what I mean by the load. Okay, let's go here. Let's go. I think it's even earlier than this one.
Messages and stuff, because I don't think that's necessary or relevant to the public right now. But I'm solution based, and sometimes.
Let's pause right there first and foremost. Okay, I need to play the clip for you guys to understand what's happening. They're gonna have a conversation. So let me just make this clear context. They're having a conversation. We're not actually sure what the conversation is about. We just know that there's a heaviness in the relationship, the friendship they have, and B. Simone is talking about the fact that she's more solution oriented, and this is what happens between anxious people and avoidant people. Avoidant people are not used to having to deliberate for hours on a situation. In fact, I just had to apologize to my sister today because I did the very same thing that B. Simone did, which is I gave a solution when I should have been listening. One of the hardest things for avoidance is to waste time. You are wasting time. I'm so sorry. Anxious people, you're wasting my time because you're going to talk about the situation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At this point, get an understanding. Get the answer. I've given it to you. Why are we discussing it again? And not just discussing it, we're discussing it in the same capacity. I told you already before, there's the answer. Move on. Right? That's how it feels like for us as avoidance when we're talking about these situations. The anxious person is like, what's calming their anxiety is the ability to have a safe space to speak about the issue. They're like, look, I want to be able to talk about the issue. I want to be able to tell you how I'm feeling. I want to be able to tell you that, this is what's going on in my head, right? I've gone for a divorce, or I feel lonely. And the avoidance, like, I hear all that, but that's a lot of emotions right now. Like, what you going to do? Okay, so you're lonely. Okay, you feel like you ain't got no friends. What do we do about it? And that's where the avoidant loses it. He or she goes, what are we going to do about it? Because at this point, we can't do this a fifth time. So we spoke about this yesterday, but today it's the same thing. So now I need a solution because it's draining me. Because for an avoidant, remember, having too much interaction with people is very difficult. And when we say interaction, when the interaction is on your level, it's draining. What that means is when I have to give when I have to give emotions to something, I find it frustrating because it's not on my time. Because one of the things that an avoidant fears is being controlled. Do you know why? You can watch my YouTube for hours on end? Because I'm not forcing you to watch it. But if somebody tells you have to watch my YouTube, you're gonna rebel. You're gonna rebel. Those of you who are avoidance in the chat, you can tell the truth. If somebody was to tell you to watch Koja, you'd be annoyed. Well, who are you telling me to watch Koja? I'll do what I want to do. You understand? Yeah? But there is no onus. So if now you watch me for 5-6 hours and no one tells you, you'd be happy to watch it. Because no one's telling you what to do. You hate being controlled and micromanaged as an avoidant person, right? And we hate having to have conversations over and over and over and over again when I've given you a solution. It's given you're a victim. And in our mind, we were never a victim. Or if we were a victim, then we can't stay there. We've learned how to get out of that place. No one came to save me. So why are you acting like I'm going to come save you? When I was younger, I had to figure it out. Okay, I was cooking at how old I was. I had to get a job at however old I was. I had to take myself to school. I had to go and look after my siblings. I had to look. We can list off a whole bunch of things that we were doing before our time. We don't have time to be a victim. So when you're talking and you're being emotional as an anxious person and you're sharing your heart, and really you are sharing your heart and you're sharing how you feel, what Megan is doing with B. Simone, I'm sure it happens a lot. At the point, it gets to a point where it's like, baby, as B. Simone would say, baby, I'm gonna need you to fix up. I'm gonna need, because we done this already. So you're acting like a victim. And if you stay in this place, I can't help you because I'm wasting time and I'm wasting energy. Let's continue the video on.
Sometimes it's like, well, it's heavy, bitch. I could carry it. Let's carry it. Like, if it's heavy, let's carry it. Let's go. Come on. You put half on here. I'm going to take this half. I'll take this half. But I think I'm right now in this season, like, the way we're carrying it isn't working for me.
There we go. Let's stop there. Okay. She was happy to carry whatever our good sis had for a season. It is not I'm not going to carry your ish forever. I cannot do it. And that's where anxious become different. Okay. I think it's where anxious become different. Okay. I think it's where anxious become different. Anxious get to a point where they do for you and they feel like you should do the exact same for them, right? Because anxious people they think ahead. And when they think ahead, they're always thinking about the other person, because remember, they're trying to close a gap between you and the other person. So what an anxious avoidant person does is that they try to close a gap between them and the other person. So their mind is always attuned to what do you need? How do you need to be served? How do you need to be loved? They're always thinking about how they can do something for you, right? The moment that you, and the reason why the relationship always suffers is because what happens is the anxious person thinks the avoidant person is selfish. And they don't realize that anxious people are selfish as heck. They are selfish because a lot of times they're not doing things. They will tell you they're doing it for you. They're not. They're doing it for themselves. Because what happens is if they do for you, their anxiety reduces. Why? Because if they can do for you, then you stay close. We didn't ask you to do it for me. I didn't ask you to go ahead and do it for me. You did it out of your own back, but you want you want me to reply back with the same kind of energy that you've put into the situation. And I'm telling you, I'm only saying what I've seen, what I've felt, but I also saw it in B Simone and Megan, and I'm gonna play the clip for you. Right? Anxious people are selfish, but they think they're benevolent. They're not. They're selfish, just like we are selfish. Okay, and their anxiety becomes a method of control. So what happens, and you're gonna, I'm prefixing this so you can hear what the conversation is gonna happen in this next few minutes, because they're literally gonna give you those answers. You know, let me put this clip there for you. Actually, I can just play it. It's fine. I can just play it, and you'll play there.
It's not working. So what is a different way to carry it? You might have to take it back for right now. I might have to go get my mind right and figure out a way to become stronger and come back and help you again. And if you're carrying it, we have to figure out a way to get it off of you, whether I'm helping you carry it or not. I think that was I'm not so much scared or upset about helping carry. Not saying that you need that or want that or ask for that. But I want to do that because I love you. Let me help you through this. But if I'm carrying and don't feel like we're getting to the finish line, we have to figure out a different way to carry. I'm not saying I won't help you carry it, but this technique isn't working for me, you know? So I hope that made sense.
Yeah.
You know,
I get it.
She can't carry it no more. She's tired. Listen, she's tired. Okay. She reached her limit. And here's the one thing about avoidance too. We reach our limit. We've reached our limit. We're done. Okay. And when you get to that point of being done, what you want from the anxious person is to pick it up. I'm not saying the anxious person isn't independent, by the way. We have anxious people that are independent. What we're saying is the issue that you have, you're wanting me to pick it up. And so when I pick it up, I can only do it for a short amount of time before it gets up, it gets to a certain point in time where I have to detach and be like, I need my space again. Right? I need my space again. Okay. We want to love, we want to be loved, we want to give you love, but we're giving you love through our perspective and our lens. Okay. All right. Give me room to breathe. Okay. All right. So now I'm asking, I've taken the thing off. I've carried your thing for a little while. I'm like, hey, here's a baggage. What are we doing now? Because this method of me helping you carry it, I'm tired. I'm not gonna, and that's what she needs to really say. It's not that it's not working anymore. I'm tired of carrying it. The method actually is fine. I'm just tired. And the reality is I want to put this bag down. But here's the thing. Here's why she's going to struggle with this. She's going to struggle with this because an independent person like ourselves, as we are, avoidance, hyper independent. By the way, it's not just independent. We are hyper independent. That's the problem. We're hyper independent. The issue we're going to have is that for us, if you tell us you're tired, we will say, cool, I get it. Because you know what? It's my thing to carry it anyway. And that's why I didn't want to burden you anyway. But cool, let me take my thing and we walk. But for the anxious person, when I put it down, they're like, so you don't even care about me. You don't love me. I wouldn't do that to you. Yeah, you wouldn't, because we think differently. We move differently. The anxious person's like, I just thought that, you love me enough to do this. And actually, Megan says this in his own entire video. We might have to do it in part 3. I won't get around to it today, I bet. But the anxious person will be like, I would do this for you. I would run the earth for you. I appreciate that. I do. I really do. But we're built differently, darling. And I wouldn't do that. I just can't. Yeah, I can't. I know you would do that, but you're not telling the truth about why you would do that. The reality of the situation is you get pleasure from being able to attach yourself to me. So if you're going to do something, you want the plaudits. You have an ego just like I do. You want the plaudits for me to be like, you're such a great friend. You never leave me in the lurch. You know what I'm saying? You would take it to the farthest region and you want the plaudits from me. And I get it. I do. I get it. I humbly understand it, but I can't do it for you. Yeah, I can't do it for you that way. I don't react in the exact same way as you do, right? Let's listen a bit more.
Yeah, I didn't even plan on going in that much detail about it. And, I definitely don't mind that we did, but I don't want you to feel like we have to talk about this.
Listen to this interaction.
No, I mean, I don't mind. I think it is what it is. I think that if I was afraid that, like, I think if our friendship was over, then it would be like, okay, let's not talk about it
For
and
sure.
let's pretend that we're good, because a lot of people have podcasts and do that.
For sure.
I'm not afraid of any of that. I think that, you know, but maybe I only, like, I feel like it was like fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mhm.
and it's like,
Mhm.
well, you're fatigued because you are
But that's
giving
doing that out of fear.
right, because you feel like I need something from you, or I'm going to be disappointed if I don't. But I also sometimes feel
Pause, right? I want to pause it here. The anxious person oftentimes too won't be honest. And avoidance too, we can just too. Both avoidance and anxious people are not going to be honest. At this point, it's not honest, right? At this point, it's not honest. Let me tell you why it's not honest. Because Megan's saying, you know what? I get that you're fatigued, and you know what? Like you picked it up and everything like that. You know, I'm not really concerned about that per se. It's more that I felt like you fit. Yeah. Watch what happens. The conversation's going to turn, and she's going to admit that actually it's going to frustrate her. Watch what happens, because the anxious person won't tell the truth, right? Because you have to become benevolent as an anxious person. Because I just love you. I just care about you. You know, I just think about you all the time. And reality is selfish because it's not really from a truest place. Now, that's not saying that there isn't truth and love behind what you're doing. It's to say there's also the fact that you know behind it too, you're trying to keep me attached the same way I'm trying to keep you away. Okay? Listen to what's going to happen. She's going to
sometimes feel like, or maybe this is a question.
Okay.
Do you feel like you do that because I would do that for you?
mm-hmm.
Like my expectations are of me?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't thought about that. I don't.
Like, is that what the fear is? Like,
Be Simone too not being honest as well, because she knows she has thought about that. And in fact, she ends up admitting it too. Both of these people are not being honest. This is why the friendship's suffering. It's suffering because both people are not pausing to take some time and go, actually, you know what? I ain't gonna lie to you. I get tired of you. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm tired of you. Right? All right? I'm tired of you. Okay? I just need you to just, you know what I'm saying to you? Just, both of them not telling the truth. Listen again.
or not fear, but like, do you feel that because I would do that for you? Like when you were like, when you gave the desert analogy.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, I could have brought the water. Should I go get the water? And that's going to make me late. And da-da-da-da.
This is being slow.
Do you do that because that's how I would think? Because because you know me, I'm like, what's the options? You know how I am. I'm thinking A through Z.
Right. Maybe.
And I'm like, well, I know that I'm that way.
Right.
I don't expect.
As you notice, what did she say? I'm a person that's going to think from A to Z. I want to cross all the T's. I want to dot all the I's. I'm a person that's going to think detail orientated. I'm going to be thinking about every little thing ahead of you, right? That's how she judges the relationship, because that's how anxious people judge it, right? That's how anxious people judge it. Anxious people judge it by, this is what I would do. I would think about X, Y, Z when I'm thinking about you, because that's how I think about when I'm doing for you. And she's going to tell us, I don't expect that from you. You lie. You do. Okay? You do expect that from us. And it's going to come, it's going to happen, because they're going to get to it, they're going to admit it, that she does expect that. But she's going, no, I don't expect you to behave like that. No, you won't say it outwardly, but you do inwardly expect it from me, right? And that's where the frustration comes from, but for both avoidance and anxious people, because people are not telling the full truth, but they have these expectations of each other, right? I expect you to leave me alone, give me some space, you know, and I expect you to not understand, to understand it's not personal. But, you know, it is personal.
I don't expect you to be that way.
Right. But I think you require that.
There we go.
You get what I'm saying? When people show up for you in that way, it works better for you.
Come on.
In what way?
I think that for you, that is a better friend for you. That show up in that way. The way that I've been trying to, always there. Just show up. You get what I'm saying? Like you said, forward thinker. Having all your ducks in a row, crossing your T's, dotting your I's. You know, you do think that way, but I think you also appreciate a friend that shows up in that way.
Oh,
yeah, I think I appreciate it, but
there we go. No, don't skip it, sis. Don't skip it. Don't skip it, sis. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Don't skip it. Because what you're going to do, you're going to try to cover it up. There's no need to cover it up. It is how you think. And it's not bad. It's just that this is the reality of life. As an avoidant, I have to be honest and be real. I do like to separate myself from people. I have many a times have situations with people where I'm like, yo, you know what? I need some time to myself. Sometimes I take a month or two out. I just need a break. I need a break. You understand? Sometimes I don't need to talk for a week. I need a break. You know, me and my best friend, she has her own set of girls that she rolls with. And I love it because I can't be the sole person that you rely on because I need a break. And I'm overwhelmed. I need a break. You know what I'm saying to you? And that's you know, that's a reality situation. As an avoidant, we feel like it's too much, it's draining. And someone said, is it like men? Yes, a lot of men are avoidant in the way they behave. It's too much, but we've got to heal. This is not an excuse to say we can stay there. We've got to heal. I'm just saying that I can see why this relationship is getting a little bit heavy. Once that divorce happened, I just knew that sets a whole nother situation going.
But I also don't expect it because I don't believe that that's everyone's gift.
You might not expect it.
Come on
but
now.
I feel like when you don't get it, it lets you down.
Then you expect it. See, we can change all the words we want, but even if you don't say you expect it, it doesn't make a difference. What do you actually feel? When the person doesn't when a person doesn't behave the exact same way an anxious person would behave, they do feel some way because they feel like, am I not good enough? That you would think about all the things about me, and I'm only using the words that Megan used. She used the exact same words. Am I not good enough? That you would think about all these things about me? Am I not good enough? You know what I mean?
And I've experienced that.
I think that I feel maybe I'm not taking away your experience. That's your experience. I'm saying that's obviously, or not obviously, that's not my intent. I think that I struggle sometimes with feeling like I considered you in that way. Did you consider me in that way? I think that's my thing.
There we go. There we go. She gonna have you sliding down a wall. She gonna have you sliding down a wall. She gonna have you sliding down a wall. And the reason why you're gonna slide down the wall is because she's going to put an expectation on you. And she said at the beginning, you heard it yourself. I don't have an expectation of you. I don't have an expectation of you. I don't expect you to behave like I do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. That's why we're beefing right now. Right? Yes, we do. And I'm not saying the avoidance is innocent. They're not. When we're not innocent, we are a part of the issue because we have control issues, right? But you're going to have us sliding down the wall, okay? Because at this point, you just admitted now, all of a sudden, you know what? Yeah, I do. I mean, it's just that, okay, hold on. But why don't you think about me when I do? You see, now you've proved my point, right? So now what the anxious person does, they start making you feel bad about the fact that you can't do what they do. But the reality is you don't even do what you do purely out of love. You do it because you want to keep the attachment going, right? Last few minutes.
Like I consider, I'm just saying, consider it. Did you think about it?
And probably not.
And I'm saying for me, I think that's just my mind, but it's also not my expectation. But I'm thinking like, did you think about that? Because I know for you, like your love language is words of affirmation, right? Or I also think acts of service can be part of your love language as well. So like when you're down, I'm like, okay, I know she likes this. I know she would want to do that. And or it's like, you don't have to ask that of me. So then for me, I'm like, I wonder if I'm ever considered in the same way and not.
Now let's pause right there. The anxious person, and this is where it's going to get frustrating. The anxious person has learned everything about you. You know why? To relieve your anxiety. It's got nothing to do with me. I shouldn't say nothing to do with me. Let's take that back. It has something to do with me. You care about me. But the anxious person does all these things. They learn everything about you, partly because, yes, they love doing it, but also to avoid the anxiety. Because if they get it wrong, they're afraid that we're going to separate. Do you see what I'm saying to you? So the anxious person has to learn everything about you so that they don't make a mistake, so that they can stand at the end of the finish up like, hey, I did everything. I learned everything about you. Right? I learned everything about you. So when it goes wrong, and they're like, why couldn't you do that for me too? Why couldn't you learn everything about me? And that's what she asked her. I learned your love languages. I know your shoe size. Baby, I don't even know what dress you're in. Let me just tell you, I even know what food spots you go to. I know what time you go to them to. Digga. And they don't realize their own trauma is what leads them to being in a place where they're hyper vigilant on everything you do, because they have to learn it so that they don't have more anxiety. Because any change in your behavior can look like you're separating from them. And the avoidant person is like, I don't pay that much attention to everything you're doing because I'm not hyper vigilant. Right? I'm not hyper vigilant. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Both of these people are a problem because they're in a space of their attachment styles where they're going to trigger each other. Right? So for both the anxious person and the avoidant person, we have different reasons as to why we do what we do. But neither of these parties are the winner of the situation. Neither of them. Right? Just saying. You know? And what I would say is, you know, it's difficult on both sides. That's what I'm going to say.
Out of fear. Out of just, I love you. And just as much as you pay attention to me, I pay attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like that. Like, I don't want anyone, like, I am regardless of all of my flaws and fuck ups, I'm a giving person.
Right.
Not just of things, but of my time and of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I know that I do those things because I love people, but I also do it because it makes me feel good and because it's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I know that at my best, it's impactful. At my best. And I also know at my worst, it's impactful.
Right.
I feel like just as much as you love me is as much as you're going to hate me. It's very hard to have this with me. I am working to find this.
I want to speak out to the last point. My last point before I got to go, I'm ahead of my curve a little bit, but I don't want to go over 40 minutes. So this is the last point. I want to focus on this last point and we're going to jump off. This last point is really important. Okay. Okay. So this is it's important. This part here is why avoidance and anxious people are going to struggle in their relationship, why your friendship is probably in that state right now, and you have these peaks and troughs. There is something that the anxious person does that it's not needed. Okay? They take responsibility for your emotional state. I don't need you to. You're babying me. The anxious person will try to take responsibility. Let's say I'm down. They will take it upon themselves like, I have to make you better. You don't. You just need to leave me and let me grow into myself. I never asked for you to help. Right? They overdo and they overserve. And I'm going to play a clip here. She's going to say something. I want you to listen to the response of B. Simone. It's tiny, but listen to her response and it will tell you they don't agree. Okay? All right. So let's go to this part here. Just listen to this part here.
I'm not ever fearful in our relationship. Like, I don't ever do anything because I'm afraid of you or I'm afraid of how you're going to respond. Doesn't mean that it's not uncomfortable for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you're moody, it's uncomfortable for me. And I feel like it's my responsibility to get you out of that. And sometimes it's not my.
Pause. That's what, did you see what's happening? It's tiny. But listen, I'm going to replay this a little bit. Listen to the response again. And we're going to jump up. Listen to the response again.
Thing because I'm afraid of you or I'm afraid of how you're going to respond. Doesn't mean that it's not uncomfortable for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you're moody, it's uncomfortable for me. And I feel like it's my responsibility to get you out of that. And sometimes it's not my responsibility. But I think because I've learned you, I know how to help offset that. And then some, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm like, she's just in a mood.
Okay.
So I just need to sit in this, you know what I mean? I'm gonna have to sit in it because she's in a mood. Or like right before a show, sometimes you get really quiet because you're nervous, but you can also be very short. But I understand because of, I know you. I know we're getting ready for a show. This is common for her.
Right.
Every time before a show, while you're getting ready, you're quiet. You're pacing.
Right.
You're short.
Right.
What time is the Uber coming?
Right.
What time are we getting there? Do they have this? Do they have, like, sometimes it can be very, you know what I mean? Sometimes that can be uncomfortable for me, but I'm never afraid of you.
Okay.
I'm never afraid.
Not in a traditional sense. No, you're not, but you're afraid of the connection being dissipating. Let's be honest.
Of like, it's not so much of afraidness, but it's like, I want to cultivate something because I know that she's experienced something right now, and I want to be sensitive to that.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid of you.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of how you're going to respond to me.
Yeah.
Even when
Anyway, let's pause it there because time is up. Look, let me be honest and very real with you, okay? I'm gonna just tell you the honest, real truth here, okay? When she said obviously about the fact that, you know, for her, she's gonna make sure that she knows what your mood is up and down, she's gonna learn all those kind of things. Yeah, you're trying to avoid the anxiety that comes with not knowing how she's gonna behave. That's the reality of it. Okay, all right. You're trying to learn that because you're afraid of the anxiety that kicks in. You do have fear. Just like the avoidant has fear. We have fear that you're going to literally enter our skin and become one of us. And I don't want that. That's how we feel, right? So on both sides, it becomes problematic. It's not just B. Simone. A lot of people wanted to jump on B. Simone. I saw some of the comments like, B. Simone's like, and it's like, no, they're not the only issue. Avoidance and anxious people are problematic because they both are trying to control the scenario. And because of that, they find each other oftentimes in relationships because you need to learn how not to control things, right? And it's just that simple. The anxious person tries to control things by being too structured. And the avoidant person wants to break the structure because feeling like being structured is being controlling. And then the avoidant person stops the emotional connection from developing too deep because I know that you're going to rely on me too much. And then when I want to detach, you're going to make me feel guilty for it. So when we do part 3, there's more to go through in that video. There's a lot more. I've got so many notes, but I want to keep it nice and short for you guys. I appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you again soon. I'll do it tomorrow with another live. We'll do another one as well for you guys. All right. Appreciate you a lot. Stay locked.